This is the quality function deployment template, and notice down at the bottom there's 4 tabs: House of Quality 1, House of Quality 2, 3, and 4. In the first one, what we want to do is we want to start here with the customer needs and enter the customer needs here. So in this example, a sofa must be comfortable, affordable, and available. And then, as we saw in the module, what we're trying to do is convert those into CTSs, or critical to satisfaction. So one thing I would recommend is, for every customer need you have, number those. And so number 1, for example, a sofa must be comfortable. And then we convert those into a CTS. And the reason I say number them is because it is very common where you'll have one need and several CTSs to meet that need. So for example, I've labeled all these 1 because those 4 CTSs actually satisfy this notion or need of comfortable. So an armrest that's 9 to 10 inches in height, a seat cushion not removable, and so forth. Okay, and what you're going to find is these House of Qualities grow very, very fast, and so you might have 4 or 5 or 6 or so customer needs, and it's not uncommon to have 10 to 20 to 30 CTSs that meet those needs. And so you want to number them because you want to be able to trace back as you go through the House of Quality, the various houses. You want to be able to trace back a specific CTS or functional requirement or design requirement or a process control. You want to be able to trace that back to a customer need, and so hence the number. So then we just key these in here. So these are just keyed in. So this is the CTS, as it were, to the need. And then the next thing you want to look for is the rating. And so we're going to rate now each one of needs against all of these CTSs, and we'll use this scale. So there's a strong correlation, medium or weak correlation, and we enter those here, as we saw in the module. And of course, one thing we want to look for, if this were truly a 1 need to 1 CTS, we would expect to see a diagonal of 9s here. And the reason, of course, is because for every need I have to have at least 1 CTS. Now you'll see here there is somewhat of a diagonal, although these first 4 are intended to meet this 1 need. But I'm looking, one of the things I look for, and you should be looking for, is a diagonal right here of all 9s. Now, for each of the customer needs, we then, though, continue to associate this need with the other CTSs that exist because of the other needs, and we do that, and so you can see that result here. Right? Once we have these CTSs specified, they actually are automatically populated up here, and this is the conflicts area. And so I'll just give you one example. I have, for example, it has to cost less than $1,800, and yet there's another CTS that says it must be delivered in 3 weeks. And of course, that's probably going to be a conflict because very typically the quicker you want it, the more expensive it is, not the less costly it is. And so we identify the conflicts up here, and this is a way of capturing the critical twos. So they're all critical, but clearly some will conflict with one another, and at some point we have to decide which one trumps the other. Something else to notice, and that is for each of the needs, what is the direction of improvement? And so, for example, the sofa must be comfortable, and 1, we want to maximize that. Right, we want to maximize comfort. On the second one, it has to be affordable. Now we've specified affordability here as costing less than, and so we want to minimize that. Right, we want to minimize the cost. That's how we've defined affordable. And then available, number 3, we said must be delivered in less than 3 weeks, and of course we want to minimize that as well. So we want to minimize the time to delivery and so forth. Now over in this section is the competitive information. Many times you won't have any competitive information or benchmarking, but when you do, this is the area we use to benchmark this particular solution, whatever it is, against competitors or competing solutions, or it could also be some kind of a benchmark or other standard that's out there. And then down at the bottom, once we complete this area, we've got the importance of the CTS, and that is noted here by the numbers that you see here. So this is one way, at least, of prioritizing the CTSs, particularly when there's ones that conflict. Although it's always a good idea to, once you have this evaluation, to run that back by your customers and do a sanity check and just make sure that that's sensible. And the last thing I want to mention now in the House of Quality is that the CTSs will now flow directly into house number 2, which is right here. And so we'll cover that in another module, but I want to show you how the template works. So these are going to flow right into the house number 2, and then we'll go on to developing the functional requirements. But coming back to house 1, that's pretty much it. Just these boxes, these are your rating and your scorings, and this is benchmarking, this is the area of conflict, this is the CTS, and this is high level need, and that's pretty much it for House of Quality 1.